Hello. My goal is to give you some information about Remind and how it works in general, but some benefits we have as a licensed district in Sanger Unified. So, one thing just to be aware of as we begin, teacher accounts for Canvas, PowerSchool, and Remind will become active on Thursday, August 13th. So if you log into Remind today, it may not recognize you. You may want to wait a couple days before you log in and claim your classes because they aren't uploaded yet. So just be aware that is also true of Canvas and PowerSchool. So here's what Remind is in a nutshell. It is a way for you as a teacher to reach students and parents when you need to on any device. It is built for education. When I started using it, it was kind of like my Twitter for education. And so it allows teachers to communicate effectively and quickly with parents and students to strengthen relationships. So because our district is on Remind, it's easier than ever to get started. What that means is when you do log in on Thursday, you will see classes that were created for you. Those classes are preloaded with your students and parents, and you should be able to reach them very quickly. It's all in one place. You will have the capability to use the browser, which I find to be easiest for sending messages, but you'll also have the capability to download the app and use your phone, which makes it very convenient and portable. So why Remind? Well, Remind reaches families on the devices that they use. So parents aren't picking up the phone or listening to voicemail in ways that they used to. Many people don't have home phones anymore, but they do open and read their text messages. So you can see the stats. 99% of text messages are opened, and 90% of text messages are read within 3 minutes of receipt. So one of the benefits of Remind is that you can actually see who received your message and then who opened and read your messages. So it's a great tool. So we want to make sure that you're part of our district plan. So some of you may already have Remind accounts, and I'll show you how to merge those later. But this is how you're going to sign up for the district account. So you're going to go to remind.com, and or you can go to Sanger Learns and click on Remind. But once you get to remind.com, you will see this login screen, and you're going to log in with Google, and this will be your Sanger USD Google account. Okay. You will choose your account. We're going to use Mr. Soto's account for our purposes here. Okay. So again, log in with Google. And then once you get in, you will see your dashboard or home screen. Mine looks a little bit different because I am admin across district, but you will see the district should say Sanger Unified. Your school should say your home school, whichever school you are assigned to. And then beneath that, you will see classes owned, and your classes should be your class or classes should be pre-populated there. This information across the top, again, looks a little bit different on mine, but you will see for any class an overview, messages, people, and settings button, and we'll go through that shortly. So after you sign up, you're going to look for an email from Remind and follow the instructions for logging in. You'll check your classes. They are provided by our school, and customize the name and code if you'd like, or you can create your own. You won't need to create your own classes. You may choose to later for things like sports or clubs or things of that nature. Okay. And then you can go to your notification settings online to download the app. I'm going to switch my screen for just a second to my Remind home screen, and I'm going to show you a feature that I think is really important. So in the top left of the screen, once you're logged in, you will have the option to go down to account settings. And this is where you can set your preferences. So your personal information, like your name, your role should be teacher. It'll list all of the organizations to which you are assigned. And then down here is remind data practices. So you can kind of ignore that. Notification preferences right here, also very important. So this is where you will determine how you want to receive notifications on Remind. If a student or parent messages you, I have turned off my email and text messages and am choosing only to receive notifications via the app on my phone. Okay, so if you prefer and you only want to communicate via email, you can do that. You can also turn on as many notifications as you would like. Just be aware that you will get, like if you send out messages and get responses, you will get 3 of the same response on different devices if you do app, text message, and email. So be wary of that. If you'd like to use the call feature on Remind, you would click here. Okay, this means that students or parents can call you. The call feature is nice, but a little bit tricky. And then message options here. So if you would like to allow replies to your messages, which I would encourage, as that is the function of Remind, you would click here, allow replies, and then you can also choose to receive copies of your class announcements if you would like. At the very bottom, you're allowed to set your office hours. Okay, so you can do that. Note that students can message you, parents can message you outside of office hours. What will happen is they would get a pop-up screen that would say, hey, it's outside of office hours. Do you still want to message them? And if they say yes, the message will go through. That is a safety feature. It will block calls if you do sign up for the call feature, however. All right, so we're going to go back real quick. And again, from the drop-down menu, I also wanted to show you that Remind has a fantastic help center. Because we are licensed, we get preferential treatment. And who doesn't like a little preferential treatment, right? So you can search for questions if you have, like, how to join a class. And there are articles that will take you through everything. But one of my favorite features here is email support. You will get a response usually within 24 hours. Recognize that it's the beginning of the school year, and so they're getting a lot of help requests, but they are fantastic. They're very helpful. So you would just click on the drop down and general question, merge accounts, identify your potential problem. And if you don't know, then I would click general question, and it's going to ask you to complete this information. This, when you complete this, give as much detail about your situation as possible in the summary of request, or excuse me, in the description area, and they can fix it in a heartbeat. Again, really, really helpful at the help desk. Okay. So that is how to get some help. I just wanted to take you through that. The other thing I wanted to show you just really quickly is we had just talked about on the previous slide how to change a class code. So AP Language is one of my classes, and this is kind of what your class page will look like. So you can see here, I've titled my class AP Language, and it has a really funky @ code. If I want to, I can change that. That code is taken. You can play with it. So I find that it is so much easier if it is like letters or numbers that make sense to the kids or parents in the event that you do want to give instructions about how to add manually. So just a note on how to do that. And then you'd also want to make sure that you are affiliated with your school. I created this class before Sanger Unified had a district license, so I didn't have this option before. Here's also where you can adjust your class settings. So this class will appear in class search and on your profile. You can make your class invisible if you don't want students outside of your class to be able to search it. You can require approval to join, which won't affect you because students who are in your class who are rostered in PowerSchool, they will be added automatically. But if you want to prevent anybody else from joining, you could click this. You can allow students to communicate with one another by turning this on. The default is off. Okay. And so note also that if your students are under 13, they are going to be given a parent request. Student emails in Sanger Unified are used to communicate with students. So note though that if you send a message to your students who are under 13, the message will go to their email address, and only students in grades 9 through 12 have activated email addresses. Okay. But for most teachers of students under 13, the recognition is that this is going to their parents. And there will be instructions given at the junior high level for how students can link a cell phone number to their Remind account. So look for that information, or you can contact me for help on that. Okay, jumping back to our slides presentation. So if you are somebody who had an existing Remind account, if you're a parent and your children use Remind, these are some instructions about how to merge your accounts. Okay, so you can, we just visited the Help Center. That is the easiest way. Ideally, when asked if you've used Remind previously, you clicked yes, and then you would receive an email asking you to merge your accounts, and you can follow those steps. But feel free to do that via the Help Center that we just visited. Again, teachers, your courses have been added. So classes will be rostered on August 13th. They are synced daily with PowerSchool. So if there is a change in your enrollment, students or parents, that will be updated. If you need to create an additional class, this is how you do that. There are instructions on the screen. Beneath the classes that you owned on the left side of your home screen, you will see add a class, and that is where you could create one. But again, for your rostered students, those classes will already exist. If you want to add people to your class, you will find that it's fairly easy. So if you have a parent who for some reason isn't rostered in Remind, you can do that. Again, I'm going to click back here, and you will see in my top right corner of my browser, there's an Add People button. You can manually enter students, parents, or other teachers. You can print a PDF that shows them how to sign up for your class. You can do in-person instructions. That's like the old school way that we used to do before we had the district license, or you can send out a link. Okay, so lots of options to add people. So Remind allows you to send messages. I think it's up to 600 characters with our license. You can send messages to an entire class. You can sort by students or parents, or you can start conversations with groups or individuals. Remind has a translator, so you will notice when you're logged into your district account that you can type in your message and then click the translate button, and you'll be able to select from 80 different languages. Hmong is not one of the languages that Remind allows for translation. So if you need help with that, you're going to have to find an individual at your site who may be able to help you, or a district resource. But most of the time, we primarily are using English and Spanish, so you will have that access on Remind. Remind allows you to send photos and PDFs as well as voice clips. It allows you to schedule messages. So you'll notice that when you create a message on Remind, at the very bottom, there is an option to schedule a message. I will show you that. So if I click the button for a message, don't click urgent message. That's usually not necessary. And it will take a moment to load. So here is my class. I can, this is an archived class, but I can message everyone, or I can message teachers, admins. You will have option to message students. But once I continue, there's the translate button, and here is the schedule button. So I can choose when to send it, date, and time. There isn't a recurring message option. That is a feature that we've requested, but it isn't available yet. So remind voice calls. If you have the voice call feature enabled, it will allow you to make a voice call on Remind. It will protect your number, so people will not see who is calling. However, the deceptive part here is this shows the name of a teacher. When you make a call on Remind, it's going to come from a random location. And if parents are like me, typically I don't answer calls from people who I don't recognize. So it is something that you would need to work with to let parents know somehow that you would be making a call. And basically what it does is it establishes a protected number between you and that parent. So if they wanted to call you back, they would use that same number to call you back. Okay. It allows you to keep a call log so you can record all of your contact information directly in the Remind app or online. And just a couple best practices. So announcements are best for large audiences, and you have to recognize that, especially if you are a middle school or secondary teacher, students have multiple teachers who are sending messages regularly, especially in our current distance learning situation. So try to not overwhelm people with a ton of messages. Be specific and precise, and but we have found that Remind is the preferred method of communication for parents. But be thoughtful in the number of messages that you send. When you craft a message, consider who your audience is, what the purpose is, and when it will have the greatest impact. So as I mentioned for students, if you try to send a message and it's outside of office hours, you will get that pop-up as well that will say, do you want to send this? It's kind of late or it's kind of early. I'm an early bird. I get that message all the time. This is when it's appropriate to use the schedule feature, so you can send it maybe at a more appropriate time. But it is a great way to communicate with parents. It is helpful for engaging families. Your site and the district will also use Remind as a communication tool. It is helpful for improving attendance, especially again in our distance learning situation. And finally, here are some resources that you can use to help you with any questions you have about Remind. Again, the Help Center is fantastic in terms of support, but also you can contact me. My name is Rhonda Siqueiros, and I'm a district instructional specialist at the district, and I'm more than happy to help you through any of the troubles that you might have as you start using Remind. So good luck, have a wonderful year, and don't forget to reach out if you need help.